Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Allie Ingersoll. PNC Arena is getting a major facelift, and the entire area around the arena will look different too. Not only does that mean more businesses, venues, and people, but also significantly more money. Our sports investigative journalist, Brian Murphy, is joining me today to talk about the expansion. Thanks so much for coming on, Murph. I really appreciate it. So let's start with some of the basics. For anyone who hasn't been to PNC or maybe gone to a concert there, a game, currently, what exactly is this building looking like?
Yeah, well, it's a 24-year-old building, and it kind of looks it. Now, the Centennial Authority, which owns PNC, has done a good job of keeping up maintenance on the building, so it's not falling apart. They actually are putting a new roof on right now. But it lacks kind of the amenities of newer arenas that you might go to around the country. And given that so much of the money comes from arenas and the spaces in arenas, can you grab and go, or how quickly can you process people through concession stands and souvenir stands? All that stuff kind of needs a refresh over there.
And what about the area around there? Is it kind of like hustle bustle? Like, is it a lot of fun? Like, what's going on there?
It's a parking lot. It's a giant parking lot with lots of trees. Carter Finley Stadium, of course, is right across the plaza from PNC Arena, but there is nothing around it. The Hurricanes recently purchased Backyard Bistro, which is one of the few restaurants in that whole corridor. But right now, there's really not a lot of activity over there.
So I've gone to a number of Canes games, and because there isn't really much going on around there, something I always talk about is the lack of traffic. It is so easy to get in and out of there. I guess when we're talking about these new plans, is that something we can kind of expect to increase, you think?
Well, PNC Arena was put where it is because of its, it's right off the highway. It's easy to get in and out of. But the plan all along, even when they built it back in 1999, was to develop that area, develop that part of Raleigh, develop the land around it. It just never happened for a variety of reasons. We've been talking about this for over a decade now. But now there's real momentum to make this happen. The city and the county have approved $300 million for a massive renovation project at PNC. Part of that was the Hurricanes had to sign a long-term lease, which they did. And then part of the Hurricanes signing a long-term lease was their owner, Tom Dundon, getting rights to develop the land outside of PNC Arena, which he now has. And so one of the first things in the first phase of that is going to be a hotel is going to be put out there. So I think we're going to see a lot more economic activity in the PNC Arena area over the next 3 to 5 years.
You just mentioned that hotel. And you mentioned Backyard Bistro. What else is going to be coming up around there?
We don't know. I mean, that's a lot of it. Tom Dundon, in a lot of the paperwork, said that he plans to build a 4,500, 4,000 to 5,000 seat arena. Most likely a music venue. There are a lot of concerts, obviously, that want to go to PNC, but there are a lot of smaller acts that want to come, and we don't have really a place for them to play in Raleigh. Certainly there are some venues, but they feel that that's a missing piece of what's happening. We haven't seen the plans for PNC Arena renovations yet. In fact, the Centennial Authority cut ties with its longtime architect just recently, and so they're looking for some fresh ideas. When you go to PNC Arena, and then I've visited the Sphere in Las Vegas, which is a $1 billion building, but is an unbelievable building. They've taken trips to SoFi Arena and some of the Barclays Center up in New York. They've gone to a lot of venues to see what ideas are happening, what new arenas are doing, and they want to incorporate some of that into PNC's renovation.
So they're really drawing from and a lot of inspiration from all over.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, sports gambling is about to be legal. We're talking about a sports book. We're talking about better dining options. We're talking about viewing bars in the third deck. So you'll be able to watch the game from a bar at your seat. There are lots of cool ideas out there, and they're trying to figure out the best way to spend that money, get the best bang for their buck, but also increase and improve the fan experience.
I think that's actually a great idea for this kind of arena. I remember being at a game around March Madness, and everyone was one eye on the ice and one eye on their phone watching some March Madness. So
yeah, what they found is that the view, this arena was built in 1999. The viewing experience and what customers expect when they go to an arena has changed dramatically over those 25 years from a technological standpoint, also from a meeting and congregating standpoint. A lot of people don't want to be in their seat if their friend is across the arena in a different seat. So can you make some areas where people can congregate, watch the game, also have a beer or have some good food while they're talking to their friends, meeting with groups? So there are lots and lots of ideas. we don't know exactly what's going to fit into that renovation project, but I think they want creative wow factor.
So you keep talking about their knowing that they want different things, that people want different things. How exactly did they find out all this information?
Well, a lot of it is surveys. I mean, they surveyed fans. Now, also, this renovation is to improve the experience for the Hurricanes and for NC State and for concerts. One of the big things that they're talking about doing is adding another bay where big trucks can load in and load out. They only have 2 bays right now. Apparently, the concerts are much more bigger productions and need more space. And so, like, things that we would never think about if we're just going to a Hurricanes game or going to a concert, they want to make it appealing for concert promoters to say, yes, we've got to stop in Raleigh when we're going from Atlanta to DC or vice versa. So some of that, the Hurricanes visiting locker room ranked the worst in the NHL, so that they want to improve that experience. So some of it is for the tenants of the building, but a lot of this is for the fans, and they are visiting other arenas. They've taken some surveys. They're working with architects and others who have done lots of these renovations, and they're finding out what's been best, in Chicago or best in Atlanta or best in New York or Dallas or you name the city.
And I think that's really fair that we are now comparing ourselves to those cities because of that growth that we are having here in our city. So when we're talking about, but we're still like a very suburban-ish city compared to that, right? So can you talk about how that fan experience might be different and look different than what you're doing up in Philly or New York?
Sure. And one of the examples that they use is Atlanta. The Braves used to play downtown in a downtown stadium. They decided to move to suburban Atlanta, Cobb County, if you're familiar. Their ballpark is now the center of what's called the Battery. And this is just like a place where young professionals or families can go and hang out. The game is only part of that experience. So there's lots of bars and restaurants and things to do. And I mean, sports teams have really become, just development opportunities, almost real estate opportunities. And you see it here in Raleigh. Tom Dundon really wanted the development rights around the arena because there's a lot of money to be made in hotels and amenities that service the team but aren't dependent on the team. You can go to that hotel 365 days a year. If the Hurricanes have a bad season and are out of the playoffs, you can still go to the bar and still go to the nightclub or the music venue or whatever they decide to put in there.
We're going to talk more about that money after this break. Welcome back. So we are talking about PNC and the development all around it. You kind of mentioned how the county and the state and city, they're kind of backing this. So talk about this money. How is this being funded?
Yeah. When the arena was built, the city and the county put in a special tax on hotel room stays and prepared food and beverage. And that tax is growing. Obviously, it's a 1% tax. And it is used to fund cultural and sporting events and things that deal with tourism. So the convention center, PNC Arena, there's a new athletic facility going in Cary. And all those things come out of this money. And so as you might imagine, that fund has been growing quite a bit. We are well over the national average in hotel room stays. Just imagine how much prepared food and beverage we eat out when we go out to eat in Raleigh and Wake County. And so this last fall, the city and the county decided they were going to spread some of that money around. Everyone was asking for big chunks. That we're seeing a new development with a new hotel being built downtown and tied to the convention center. Well, PNC Arena asked for a whole bunch of money. They didn't really ask for money, but they said, hey, we want to do some renovations. And they were awarded $300 million. And this is paid out over a time period, but the PNC Arena can then use that money. They say, hey, we're getting X million dollars every year, and use that and go get bonds. And then they will use those bonds as construction bonds. They'll be able to pay for the construction. They'll have the construction done before they even get all the money, and then they'll use the money to repay those loans. Unfortunately for them, construction costs are very high, and the interest rate on borrowing money is very high. And so that $300 million may not stretch quite as far as they thought it would. In fact, their first plan was to build on the north side sort of an office complex, a 4-story office complex that would allow them to move a lot of people out of the south side and clear up space on that side of the building to do some of these fun things we've been talking about. That just was going to be too expensive. And so they've scrapped that plan. And that's part of why they're looking for new architects, new design firms to kind of come up with some new ideas. That was their plan A, and it's not going to work. They do say that despite cutting ties with their architects, it will not delay the overall project. They hope to start this project in the summer of 2025. The other problem they have, right, is they have a hockey team and a basketball team that need the arena. And they have nowhere else to play. So they're going to have to really work hard in the summertime between the end of hockey season and the beginning of hockey season to get this done. So they expect that the project will take the summer of 2025, 26, and 27 and may bleed into 2028. But by then, the entire arena should be renovated and ready for fans to really experience it.
You've mentioned a couple times that one of the first things that they're doing is putting in a hotel. So we obviously have the Canes. They're a big hit here, concerts, events from all over. They come here. So where are fans coming from exactly, and how much money are they generating when they're here?
Yeah, there was an economic study, an impact study done for PNC Arena just recently. It was actually unveiled last week. And what they found is that like as many as 40% of fans are coming from outside of Raleigh, outside of Wake County, and outside of sort of the Wake County area. I mean, when they built PNC, it was designed to be an attraction for all of eastern North Carolina. It was designed to bring people up from, Fayetteville or Nash County, Rocky Mount, maybe even Wilmington if the event was big enough. And that's what they're finding, that a lot of people are coming into town and spending the night. Certainly there are a lot of people from Wake County that are coming to a game and going home that night. But there are a lot of people coming from outside of the area to watch an NC State game, get a hotel room, do something else, and then maybe head home. So this economic impact study found that 1.6 million people attended events at PNC Arena in the 22-23 season. A lot of that was the Hurricanes. They made a deep run into the playoffs. NC State had one of their more successful seasons. They made the NCAA tournament that year. And then there were a bunch of concerts, Hootie and the Blowfish, for one, Lizzo, Harry Styles. I mean, big names. This doesn't even include the outdoor game, which we know was a big economic impact. But they're just focusing on PNC Arena, and they found that the economic impact to Wake County was $590 million.
Wow.
Now, of course, that includes some multipliers and supply chains and things like that. But what I thought was interesting is the same economist had done a study in 2016 of the impact on PNC Arena to the economy, and they found $249 million. So in a 5-year period, in a 6-year period, it's more than doubled. And I think a lot of that is attributable to the Hurricanes being much better and the people running the arena, which are the Hurricanes, just doing a much better job of getting concerts in there. I mean, much bigger names are coming. Some of that is Raleigh's a much bigger place than it was, even 6 years ago. But people are stopping here. Just this year, we're going to get Tim McGraw, Justin Timberlake, Pink, Cirque du Soleil is coming for like a 3 or 4 day engagement. So all that put together is really driving economic investment here and economic impact in Raleigh.
Maybe Taylor Swift is listening to this and she'll want to come too.
Taylor Swift actually played PNC Arena back when she played, 20,000 seat stadiums as opposed to 80,000 seat stadiums.
Yeah.
Can we get her at Carter Finley? It's right across the street.
Yeah, that'd be great. So looking at these projections, what are the economists saying when they do all of this development around the area? What's it going to look like numbers-wise?
Yeah, the economist did a study. He projected out for the next 5 years, and he projected $3.2 billion. So we're talking over $600 million a year of economic impact. That is just for PNC Arena. That does not include the development that is going to happen around the arena. That should boost it, right? This should all be a multiplier. The one thing that may dampen those expectations is, and I just talked about, they're going to have to shut down the arena maybe for like 6 weeks at a time in the summertime to get these renovations done. So they won't necessarily be able to get the same number of concerts for that 3-year period. But I think when you look at the numbers, it's only growing. Included in some of it, his slides were population growth and growth in personal income. And it's just amazing what this area has done over the last 40, 45 years. And I see no reason why that would stop now. So $3 billion of economic impact just from PNC Arena. And that doesn't even include whatever the Hurricanes decide to start building around it.
So can we expect that the Cane season 2027, this will all just look different?
Yeah, I think, when the Cane season starts in 2027, you will notice a difference at PNC Arena. I can't tell you right now exactly what that difference will be. No one can. But it will, I think, be dramatically different. And their plan is the building's lasted 25 years, can they make it last another 25 years? And at the end of that 50-year life cycle, then we may have to talk about building a new arena somewhere.
There's a saying I like that is, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And this just seems to make sense. So thank you so much, Murph, for joining me today. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find other podcasts from WRAL on our website. Just search podcast. From sports to true crime, there are plenty of shows to keep you informed and entertained. Thanks for listening.